Good afternoon. I wanted to bring up a subject that I'm sure it's important to most of us. At some point, it will be, or maybe has been. But it's the subject of working together with other people, working together with a group, kind of putting your ideas together and stuff. Personally, this is from my personal viewpoint. Might work different from you, but I'm just giving you my personal perspective on what I've experienced as well as what's happened. So in the very beginning, I tried to find others that had a similar interest to me. Nobody in my circle of friends had any interest, nobody at work. And I got to the point where I didn't mention it anymore. I wasn't going to even question it. If somebody mentioned it to me at that point, then maybe I would start to talk about it, maybe open up a little bit. But most of the time, nobody that I knew had any idea that of my interest in this. And as I went through it, I tried to contact a couple of authors that had had similar experiences, not portal experiences and stuff, but similar experiences. And I did get one response from one years ago. This is 30 something years ago. So it was all done by usually mail, and then it became email. But usually people don't respond. And there's a reason behind that too. One thing is, generally people get really excited about their experiences, and the first thing they want to do is share with other people. Now, it's kind of a twofold thing where you share it with other people and you kind of get their response from it and see what they say. Or maybe they have some feedback for you. Both of them, it kind of sends you off on a wild goose chase. But either way, somebody's got some feedback from it. It makes you feel better that, hey, maybe somebody else has an interest in it. And if they have some feedback, then maybe you can take it to heart, but usually you can't. Because what happens is I compare getting together with other people in this sort of scenario as like decades ago, I used to be in bands. And you get 5 guys together, and each guy has his own separate path, his own separate trajectory, his own separate idea of where we need to go. Even though we kind of get together and decide, okay, we're going to play this genre of music and we're going to begin there, it all just fans out. Because you got 5 different people, they all have 5 different lives, all their own drama, families, relatives, work schedules, ideas, interests. So you're immediately, you're all trying to get everybody to fit into this little area, and everybody's wanting to kind of go their own direction. Even getting together to practice. In the beginning, everybody's gung-ho, and it's all, they're all fired up and they want to get, doing something. But the moment things really begin, you find out who the people are that are serious about it, and the ones that are just doing it to get into the music business because they want to, rock star, whatever it was, I mean, everybody's got their own ideas and stuff. But I'm just using this as an example because when you get people together, if you got even 3 people, you've got 3 different directions. Now, I liken it to having a relationship with somebody, whether might not just be girlfriend, boyfriend, or husband and wife, but it's all family members. And if you have to live in kind of the same house, even with your roommates, it gives you a real good idea of how difficult it is to get along and cohabitate with other people. And when you spend any amount of time together, it's always going to be like that. And the other problem we have is this being more of a very precise, I'm going to call it interest, but that's not really what it is. It's your path, and your path is very, very narrow because everybody's got to kind of funnel into this little area. And there's not many people. Most people will just glaze over it because there's no interest in it. I mean, if I was selling manifestation, get rich quick schemes, oh yeah, I mean, I could get all these people on board, and they're all going to work together because they figure, okay, I can see the rainbow at the end of this bridge here, and I'm getting into this because I want to get rich with everybody else. Kind of like the pyramid schemes work out. They work out really well. Everybody is going to, has the resources to super focus on that because they figure they're only going to give themselves that amount of timeline to do it. And that's the other thing. People set their own timeline because a lot of people don't have patience and they're not willing to put forth that much effort. It sounds cool in the beginning. That's why everybody jumps on board with the metaphysical and the spiritual. Yeah, I'm going to do this. This is cool. And when it doesn't work out in the first couple weeks or couple months, or as soon as the hard work starts, everybody just kind of, goes their own way. So you're dealing with all these different things trying to get people together. Now, personally, I have spoken with a couple groups since I've been doing this. And, I got to see during the meetings or the interview, I got to see the group from an outside perspective. And what I saw was, and I'm not putting any groups down or any people down. I'm just saying I saw the hierarchy within the group. And then I saw that there were a lot of others that would just kind of hang back. And there was all kind of what I would say just different issues that I could see coming from the outside. It wouldn't be something that I would feel comfortable in. A few of the people were really good. But then again, like I said, once you start working with somebody, then you really get to see what's going on. And not all the people are willing to put forth the same amount of effort. The other problem is, too, everybody's going to go on their own path. Even if two people have a similar interest, say it's astral projection, let's use that. You're going down this path, and one seems to do a little bit better, and it kind of works off this way, and the other one kind of gets discouraged because, oh, I'm not keeping up with that. It's like having babies or having kids. Oh, my kid started crawling faster than your kid, so he's more advanced, or he's longer, or weighs more, or eats more food. It gets like that. Anytime you're in a group, it's going to be like that. So you have to be willing to, kind of, if that's really what you want to do, you have to be willing to go the distance. And like with the band thing, it's constant. You got people coming in, going out. You have to start all over. Starting over for me was the worst situation. You put all this work into it, you really work hard, and then everything seems to fall apart. And everything you put together, well, you can't use my music and this and that. And it's all just a big hassle. So when I've gone through some groups and worked through with some individuals on brief bases, and it's never worked out for me. That's my personal perspective on that. So I decided if I'm going to go anywhere, then I'm going to have to do it on my own, like I have been doing. And I know that part of it sucks in a way. Some people are I can work for myself, and I've worked for myself for years. So it doesn't bother me. Yeah, sometimes it's nice to have somebody to talk to about it, but don't plan on it. Most of your family or your friends don't give a shit about this. They don't care. They don't want to hear about it. And if you do talk about it, you probably will see them less, or they'll just blow it off and it's just like, wind in their eardrum. So don't expect anyone else to have the same amount of excitement or interest that you have in this. Making the information available to people. That's why I make this information available. And even if I was the type of person to want to push things on others, it wouldn't matter. Because you're not going to force this information, or you're not going to force people to believe the way that you believe or see the things that you see. People aren't going to do that unless they are ever ready or just become prepared. They've come to that conclusion themselves, and now they want to listen because they have seeked it. If they walk up to you and say, "Hey, I'd like to know more about something like this. Do you know where I can go look?" And then you point them towards it. That's it. But that's why I put the information out there. I'm not trying to shove it down anybody's throat. People argue with me, well, that's not the way I believe. And I'm like, that's your personal choice. It doesn't matter to me. It's the same thing. Like, if I go tell somebody about my experiences and they really don't give a shit, Well, that's what people tell me. I don't really give a shit. I'm giving this to you. And if you don't want to accept it, then that's your choice, man. I mean, I'm putting it out there. For the people who want to take advantage of it, it's there. The people don't want to take advantage of it, just move on, go somewhere else. I mean, it's no skin off my nose. I don't really care. I'm just here for the people who are wanting to put forth that. And that's what you're going to run into. And it's a what if I had to put some words to what kind of work this is, it's very lonely. It's a lonely position to do this work. I mean, it's like if you don't take an initiative, if I don't take an initiative, then things aren't going to happen. Things don't work. So when I come up with things and I discover things, it's because I have put forth the initiative to do it. I've had to dig up the drive and push forward. And 2 pages of information might have taken me a month to write. Or I'm writing a lot, and when I write, a lot of times I have to rewrite things based upon what I experienced or kind of what I learned, or to make it more palatable or understandable. So this is not something that is just, instant gratification. That shit doesn't happen. I mean, it like I said, it's frustrating. It's lonely, and you never know. You can, as you just keep putting forth the effort, and at some points you'll get a payoff. Might be something very small, or might be something you feel is insignificant, but it works. Okay, so back to the whole thing with working with other people. It's very difficult, and since we're in a very, I mean, so I tell people we have 8 billion people on this planet, and we're probably lucky if 2% of 2% of 2% of 2% of 2% of 2% would even be interested in this material, and then 2% or 2% or 2% or 2% of that may not even may follow through on it. So there's a very, very fine line we're at. So when you're working on this, just know that you're one of the very, 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 very few people that are going to be doing this. So trying to find others that are going to be walking the same path is going to be difficult, or finding others, and even if you found others that are doing it, you're still going to be working in your own direction. The 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 actual goal is you're both heading towards that goal, but you're not doing it on the same path. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's what makes it difficult. And I just don't want to be blunt about this, but in general, because most people don't care or have no interest in it, they have no interest in hearing your stories. And what I've said before is, and this is the reality of it, because I had to learn this the hard way. When I finally met some people and started going through this, your experiences are not going to be defined or explained by other people. Now, when I had, obviously the dream thing is where I first started decades ago, and I read a bunch of dream books about how to explain your dreams, and before I knew that they were filtered garbage. But anyways, nobody can explain your dreams to you, because different words and different images and different things in life mean something different to you than somebody else, because of your perspective on life and the way and what you've experienced through life. So don't rely on anybody else's explanation. Sometimes, somebody might say something that will, okay, well that's a possibility. But generally, when somebody else listens to your experiences, it's difficult unless the experiences line up really good. And even then, like I said, your understanding of something is going to be different on some level than somebody else's understanding of that same thing. Because we could both look at something, we could both watch an event occur, and I'll be looking at one thing and focusing more on my interest in that, and you'll be looking at something else within that, and so when we come together, my my experience with that is going to be different from yours because everybody has their own understanding, their own perspective, and their own interests, and that's going to have some effect on your experience. So when we both experience the same thing, it's going to be different, unless basic questions are asked about what color was the sky. But even then, your perspective on the color of the sky might be different from mine. So it's don't always look to other people for answers. You have to look within, and you have to get the answers yourself. But even when you do that, question everything and put it to the test. I've always said that. It's about you. It's not about somebody else. And the only way that you're going to get anywhere is to apply yourself and to move forward. And if you're looking for instant gratification, then you better go somewhere else because this will never happen that way. And I've said before, frustration and all this other stuff. Uh, there's no gratification or anything here. The only thing you're gonna feel that you receive out of this is from either information or experiences, because it's just not going to happen. It's just not that type of I would call it, again, interest. But this is not that way. And I know for a lot of people that's a hard pill to swallow, but that's just the truth. I mean, if it was not that way, then there would be a million people walking around asking each other about, these experiences or something. They might think it's kind of cool, a novelty, but when it comes down to it and you try to get serious, like anything else, then the things will change. But I really wanted to cover that because it's an important part of the process, and the process of you learning to rely on yourself. And I know there are a lot of people out there that will give you a lot of pieces of information. And if at any time they are expecting you to rely on them, then that should be your red flag to shut it down. Because nobody, not me, not anybody else in the world or anybody else anywhere, can tell you what's good for you and what works for you. The only person that can do that is you. You have to be the one to determine that, and you have to find these answers for yourself. Now, you can utilize information to help you come to a conclusion based upon your experiences or whatever, but when it comes down to it, when it comes down to the meat and potatoes, you have to answer these for yourself. And it's not an easy process. It's not a quick process. And it is a very aggravating process at times. And, don't let yourself feel lonely or alone or not. You have to just keep moving ahead. Focus ahead. Don't focus on the feelings and emotions you're going to get here, because those are just physical attributes. And they're meant to push you away from where you're going. What they're doing is they're anytime you start to feel depressed and lonely and stuff, what that's doing is it's the system getting you to steer away from where you're going. Because in order for you to keep feeding the system, you have to be enthralled and in the game. You have to be feeding that system. So that system is going to fight to keep you within that. Don't let it control you. Your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, they should all be controlled by you. That's your responsibility. I go through that all over, especially in the Spiritualist Manifesto. I go through it heavily, and you have to just work on yourself, but don't rely on other people or Facebook groups or whatever to determine what you know is truth. Do it yourself.